Hello, everyone. We are at chapter 2, section 2, second half. So this slide is a repeating continuation. So isotopes are the same element, but with a different number of neutrons. So that causes their mass number also will change because mass number equals proton number plus neutron number. And the ions are an atom or a group of atoms with one or more net positive or net negative electrical charge. Basically, their proton number and electron number are not equal, either more or less. When we mention acidity, this one is measured by pH, which is measure the concentration of hydrogen ions. And then this table shows the chemical ions frequently mentioned in environmental science, also in this book. So at this moment, you do not need to memorize those tables. But gradually, you should spend time periodically come back to check it out. So, for example, towards the end, you see the phosphate ion name and symbol. So those two, when the questions give to you, either one of them you should know. But for yourselves, when you use them to answer questions, you can either write the name or you can either use the formula, the ion format, the symbol. So obviously you can use both of them, but the danger is if you use both of them and then they do not match each other, then you lose point. So check with yourself. If you are good at name, use name. If you are good at symbol, use symbol. However, remember, if the question gives you symbol, you should know what they are. If the question gives you name, you also should know what that meant. So here is one example. Remember the experiment with the forest. So here you see the labeling is nitrate, NO3 negative 1 concentration, and then they can just only say the symbol without the name. So either one would be okay for you to say, but when the question shows either one, you should know. Also, we have several basic compounds involved with living things or with the pollution used in this book. Again, I will not particularly in the quiz to quiz you their name back and forth. However, you should spend some time to look at them. Those are very basic things. And then now we're going to see the bigger molecules for in life or in nature which cause some problems or the basic building block of life. So the organic compounds, what do we say something organic or inorganic? So basically, the organic compounds, they contain at least 2 carbon atoms. So carbon to carbon bound together. So when you look at methane is an organic molecule. So this one is exception, although this one is only have 1 carbon. But all the other organic compounds, they need to have carbon-carbon compounds. So some organic compounds we mention frequently is hydrocarbon. So this one mainly made of hydrogen and carbon. They used for fuels. And then some of them, they are called chlorinated hydrocarbons. Simply, some of the hydrogen atoms are replaced by chlorine atoms. And then some of them, they cause environmental problems. And then other simple carbohydrates, also made of hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen. So those are mainly the food we take in, carbohydrates. And then some other macromolecules in the organic body you need to know. Okay, so you should be able to give examples of a macromolecule. They are complex organic molecules. They are also called organic polymers. Examples you can give is complex carbohydrates, such as cellulose, such as starch. And then also protein. They are made of monomers, amino acid. They are macromolecule. And then nucleic acid, either DNA, RNA, they are polymers. They are macromolecules. And also lipids. And then the basic organic structure is started with the cells. These are the fundamental units of life. Of all organisms have one at least or more cells. You and I have tons of cells. And then genes are sequence of nucleotides within DNA. So only a segment of DNA would be responsible for the gene we called here. And then those genes are instructions for making proteins. And then in turn, they create inheritable traits, like the color of our eyes, the color of our hair, also decided by the sequence of the genes. And then the term chromosomes, they are composed of many, many genes. They are the whole chromosome with a lot of sequences. And then here's the hierarchy of life. First, we start with the human bodies with a lot of cells. And then inside of the cells, you have the nucleus. And then inside of the nucleus, you have several sets of chromosomes. And then for each pair, one from your father, one from your mother. And then along the chromosome, you have a big, long coiled DNA molecules in it. And then every part, a fragment of the DNA would be called genes, and then they decode different protein, and then manifest as different traits. Now we look at changes of material. They are constantly going through changes. So if you put all the changes together, you can say they are physical change, chemical change, and nuclear change. So for physical change, that means their chemical composition, no change. No any chemical bonds has been broken or has been formed. When you write the formula, they should be exactly the same. However, if you have to write a formula in a different way, then chemical change has happened. For example, if you break down water molecules, H2O, and then when they become hydrogen and oxygen, you write H2 and O2. These are different chemicals. So that means water breakdown have gone through chemical change. And then nuclear change is radioactive decay. And then this including nuclear fusion and the nuclear fission. This is a diagram showing you nuclear fission. So you start with a fast-moving neutron to bombard a nucleus of uranium-235. And then this one would be split into two. Those are called daughter cells, or in this moment, they can be called nuclear waste because we're not able to use them for energy anymore. So meanwhile, they produce a fast-moving neutron again. So what happens is they would in turn bombard with more of the nucleus of uranium-235 and then produce waste nucleus, daughter nucleus, and then more fast-moving neutron, and then cause more of uranium to split. So those are the chain reaction happening in nuclear power plants, which we can harvest the energy. And then one of the important law cover environmental science, chemistry, biology, physics. This one is the law of conservation of matter. So we can change elements and compounds from one physical or chemical form to another. However, we cannot create or destroy atoms. during chemical and physical changes. Just keep in your mind, during nuclear reaction, we can destroy the uranium-235. So when you write the law of matter conservation, don't forget the phrase in chemical and physical changes. Okay, I'm going to start a little bit of section 3 in this video too. So section 3, we are focused on energy. So section 2 was matter, and then 3 focus on energy. So energy is not matter. The 2 concepts are 2 laws about energy. The first one is, both of them I believe you heard before. The first one, whenever energy is converted from one form to another in a physical or chemical change, this phrase is important. No energy is created or destroyed. So this one, not only you know the content, also you need to know the name is called the first law of thermodynamics. So the second one is talking about what happens during energy conversion. So whenever energy is converted from one form to another in a physical or chemical change, we end up with lower quality or less usable energy than we started with. So this one is called the second law of thermodynamics. These 2 laws you need to know. So what is energy? Energy is the ability to do work and transfer heat. Scientists classify energy as either kinetic energy, which involves moving, and then potential energy. So kinetic energy is energy of movement, so including heat and electromagnetic radiation, because they are microscopic level movement of the particles. So kinetic energy can be changed into potential energy. And then potential energy is a stored energy, such as gravitational energy, elastic energy, chemical energy. And potential energy can be changed into kinetic energy. So this energy is kinetic energy because the energy is in the moving of the turbine. And then this one is a quick review of electromagnetic spectrum. The visible light you and I can see is only a very small portion of the spectrum. So you have energy lower than visible light. On this side, we can do many things with it. And also you have energy higher than the visible light. We also can take good use of those energy too. And then here is an example of potential energy. So those energy, the water in the dam, they have energy just because their position is higher than the location below the dam. So when you release the break or the opening part, and then the water, the potential energy converted to kinetic energy. The energy becomes fast moving, falling down energy, which can be used to produce electricity. Energy also you can, based on how available, quickly be renewed by nature, we can divide them into 2 categories. Renewable energy. So this one is gained from resources that are replenished by natural processes in a relatively shorter time, maybe like a human lifetime. However, non-renewable energy, those are resources can be depleted and are not replenished by natural processes with human time scales. That means after we use it, they will take so long time. So it almost means they are gone to us. This slide has several important numbers you need to know. Okay, so the energy we use to survive, mainly where do they come from? So remember this, 99% come from solar energy. Not only the solar